The first woman campaign manager to ever lead a winning presidential campaign is taking on a key position in the Trump White House. The president-elect has tapped Kellyanne Conway for the role of counselor to the president. WSJ Washington Bureau Chief Gerry Seib joins us now from D.C. to discuss. Hi, Gerry. So I guess it's not surprising Donald Trump wants Kellyanne Conway in the Oval Office. I mean, she's proven to be a tireless and quite successful advocate for him. But didn't she recently say she wasn't sure she'd have a role?
She did, and she's talked about establishing a kind of an outside political support group for the Trump presidency or taking a job in the White House. Obviously, we know today it's going to be the latter. She will be inside the White House in a job where, the job description is a little vague, and I think she'll probably just serve as kind of an all-purpose advisor, which is a bit of the role she's played during the presidential transition.
So we don't have an idea then of the kinds of specific duties Conway will have as counselor to the president?
No, the title counselor to the president has been used a lot over the years, and it's kind of an all-purpose title. It's somebody the president likes to have around, somebody whose advice he trusts, but somebody without a specific portfolio. I mean, in the Obama White House, for example, John Podesta, who later ran the Hillary Clinton campaign, had this title for a while, counselor to the president. Pete Rouse, who later became chief of staff, also had that title for a while. People in the past, David Gergen had this title for Bill Clinton back in the day. Dan Bartlett held it for George W. Bush. It's a kind of an office that's created for somebody whose advice the president wants on a range of things, but who doesn't have a specific line responsibility. I would guess in the case of Kellyanne Conway, the two things she's worked on the most are message and communication, and also general political alignment. And I suspect that's where she'll focus.
So does the vague nature of the role then mean that it could become almost anything?
Yeah, I think that's true, although, frankly, that's true with a lot of White House jobs. I mean, you can structure a White House staff and a West Wing staff in a number of different ways, and normally they're constructed to meet the needs or the desires of the incoming president, which tends to change from administration to administration. In some cases, the chief of staff is all-powerful. In other cases, the chief of staff has some rivals. In this case, the chief of staff is going to be Reince Priebus, who's been the Republican National Committee chairman. But Steve Bannon is also going to be a special advisor to the president, and so he's going to have a particular power center, presumably of his own, and now Kellyanne Conway will be there as well. And there's a bit, the three of them, I think, form kind of a troika, and we'll see how that works out.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Priebus, because he is going to be the only one in this group who has any prior government experience. Is that right? I mean, this is the latest in a trend of Trump selecting people whom he trusts, but who, for the most part, have little or no government experience, including him.
Yeah. That's right. I mean, the guy in the inner circle who will have the most government experience is Mike Pence, the vice president, who was in Congress for 10 years, rose to the ranks near the top of the Republican leadership there, and then became governor of Indiana. So he has experience in Washington, in the legislative branch, and as an executive in Indiana. But outside of him, this is a group of people who at the top are close to Donald Trump, but don't have government experience in Washington or, for the most part, anywhere else. And so there'll be a steep learning curve, I think, and they'll all face that together.
It'll definitely be interesting to see. I want to mention one thing that Conway did, which I thought was sort of interesting. She was publicly outspoken of at least one Trump move since the election, and that was when he was considering Mitt Romney for Secretary of State. Yeah. Were you surprised by how publicly she campaigned against Mitt?
Well, it was an unusual period, let's just put it that way. So it was surprising. I seriously doubt that she was freelancing when she did that. I suspect that she was raising some doubts that either Donald Trump himself wanted aired, or that people around him wanted to be out in public. And I think one of the things they were looking for was some kind of a statement from Mitt Romney that essentially said, I was opposed to Donald Trump in the campaign in a very outspoken way, but now I've embraced him. And they sort of got that from Mitt Romney. In the end, they didn't choose him to be Secretary of State anyway. So I think she was giving voice to some concerns within Trump world, and maybe sending out a feeler from Donald Trump himself. I doubt it was Kellyanne Conway on her own.
Very interesting. All right, Gerry Seib, thank you for that. It'll be interesting to see how she shapes the role.
Absolutely.